Welcome to On the Couch, the podcast where real conversations meet real change. Pull up a seat, get comfortable, and join us as we dive deep into the conversations that matter most to Black and Brown communities. Hosted by Dr. Diamond and an incredible lineup of co-hosts, On the Couch brings you raw, insightful, and empowering discussions, from mental health and wellness to entrepreneurship, life insurance, healthcare, and everything in between. Our mission is simple: to educate, uplift, and create space for conversations that need to be heard. Whether you're here for practical advice, motivation, or just a dose of inspiration, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about the things that shape our lives, our futures, and our communities. This is On the Couch, where we keep it real, keep it relevant, and keep it moving. Let's get started.
Good morning to all my On the Couch fans. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So our conversation today is about troubled times. We're going through a lot. So before we go there, of course, everybody knows me. I'm Dr. Diamond. I also have one of my co-hosts here, Miss Toya. So she'll be on with us for a little bit today. And then, my other co-hosts, they have some things that's going on today, but I'm going to carry this show. She and I are going to carry this show as long as we can today. So again, troubled times. So this is what we're going to be talking about because there's a whole lot going on. So I'm going to bring Toya on so we can have a coming to the minds conversation, today. We are in some rough times, right? And what do we consider that to be rough times is what we're going through right now. This person was voted into the office. He's sitting in this office. He's making all of these critical changes. This is affecting people's lives. The newest thing that's going on is cutting benefits for people. Right. So this is definitely affecting a whole bunch of people, I would say all across the United States. So this is where we are. This is why we're going to delve into this topic today. Hey, Mark, I didn't even know if you was coming on today. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I don't know how long I'll be around because we got all kinds of stuff going on. April
I
Ryan is
figured.
April Ryan is supposed to be speaking. They thought he was speaking here, and you remember she was the journalist that got in trouble with Trump and everything like that and got kicked off
Yes.
the network, and nobody knows where she's speaking at because, like I said, it's supposed to be here at the Cultural Center. But I said I got quotas and a jazz band, but I've had two people come by going like, "Is April here?" And I'm like, "No, no April here."
Yes. Well, good. I'm glad to see you today. We're gonna do this show as long as we can go. And look, I know you all have things to do. All we do is multitask, which is part of what On the Couch is, that people can see that we do other things. I would like to talk about that too, like how we are serving our community at the same time. So sometimes we're double duty. So we totally understand. And that's how we're supposed to do things, being an example to people that you can do multiple things. And as we serve our community, as we are delving into these heavy topics. So as you were coming in, our topic today is about conversations of troubled times. Of course, it's a roundtable talk for us. So there's going to be, some questions that I'm going to generate out. But before we go there, I was talking about how these programs are being cut. And from what I understand, they're telling people that if you're able-bodied, you need to get out and work. So there was this Caucasian woman on Facebook. She voted for Trump. She had a MAGA hat on. And then she said she had children because she was getting about $4,000 a month. Now they only gave her $39 and she was livid. Okay.
She's upset.
She was livid. I listened to her just to hear what she had to say. And then I said to myself, this is what you voted for. You still have your MAGA hat on. You voted for him to come in. And this is what we're dealing with. So look at the climate, you guys. What are you seeing? North Carolina, what's going on down there? Toya, we both in New Jersey, but we hear things, you know, in our prospective work areas or out in the community. So what are you all hearing right now about the benefits that are being cut?
Oh, there's definitely. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark.
Now, there's a lot of benefits being cut. Folks are upset. You know, we had the fires and other things that were going on in terms of disasters that were in the mountains of North Carolina, and we just had some more flooding here in North Carolina last week and everything like that. So people are concerned that people are losing their jobs and leaving their jobs, and they don't have the kind of backing that they need, because you know you need FEMA, you need people to let you know what's going on with the whole situation if there is a natural disaster, because we are in hurricane season. Chantel just came through, and I think there's another one that's stirring up its kind of destruction and everything like that. You know, Trump had the nerve to go to Texas and everything like that, and he even brought up, and I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts around this, but he has got a new crush. It's an African reporter that every time that he sees her, he wants to know how she's doing and what's going on with her and everything like that. So definitely he's got this crush going on with this African sister that's a reporter and everything like that. So I don't get it, what he's got going on, but he's over there. And even some of the people were like, you know, you need to do a better job in terms of covering what's going on and everything like that. So he's not doing a good job in that sense. A lot of people are very worried about their job situations, particularly those that are government workers. I understand quite a few of them got laid off in DC, and some of them were in the diplomatic fields. So they were in fields like that are oftentimes not of the most concern to him, because it has to do with our Black and brown brethren.
Yeah, I hear you, Mark. And I just know that I'm young. I look younger than what I actually am. But earlier in my career, I worked for social services for a little over 2 years. And at that time, it was governed through the freeholders. But now things have changed. And one of the things that I always looked at is that the foreigners would come here. And again, if it was a married couple and 2 kids, it was a household of 4. But if they were not born on American soil, they'll count it 2/4. Right. So I said, So then as time went on, now I'm in the mental health field. So I'm looking at all the things. I issued these particular benefits, and, you know, SNAP is a federal program and it feeds a lot of people. And I don't know if you guys paid attention to it, but after COVID, they increased that money for kids that are at home. So think about it. You have reduced lunches, reduced breakfast. So what they're doing now is, I'm not sure this is going to continue. These children were being fed at school. So what they did is to make sure there was nourishment, they increased those benefits over the summer. So now these families are looking forward to these benefits. So as you know, with the way that system works in New Jersey, after 5 years, 60 months, you get cut off if you have more kids. So then as a professional with other things that I do, I pay attention to the climate. There are a lot of bills that are being passed. So now what's happening, as that individual says, she was getting a lot of money. Remember those stimulus checks? So I had the opportunity with some folks. I know this person got about 2,000 back. So back then it was more, so the more kids you had, the more benefits. It changed. But now these are things where you're going to cut. And this is our next generation. We need to make sure they have the nourishment. So think about it. Do you want to populate the world, or do you want us just to go away? I don't know, because there are folks now, I can see what you're saying. There should be some grandfathering, in my opinion, anything moving forward. But now what's making our system work, you're going to cut it. And in the mental health field, if you cut that funding, where are these folks going to go? Because you close these hospitals. In New Jersey, there was a center called Marlboro. Everybody probably remembers that. You have Ann Klein Forensic Center. So what happens if you cut the funding? I'm the housing provider. Where are these people going to go? This is what I'm thinking. We service over 400 individuals. So imagine all the agencies in New Jersey. Now imagine the mental health population filtering all through the states, and then other states as well. That's the question, because we have quiet, and we know that the reason why we have these hospitals so that there's no violence, there's a reduction in crime. And I just know that at the end of this year, I wasn't blessed. And I've been working for an agency for 26 years. I didn't get my little extra. So imagine that people holding on to their funds. You know, when you tell people, you need to give them an appropriate time. So I'm just saying, America, look at your budget.
You got to look at that budget. Hey, speaking of looking at the budget, I was up late last night watching some bad reruns of old TV shows, but also since I was doing that, the news came on and it was ABC, and they were talking about this school for troubled teens. I forgot where it was located. It was somewhere I want to say in the Midwest, or it might have been in the Southwest. But they said that there was only like about 260 schools like this for the troubled teens or something like that around the nation and everything like that. So I'm wondering if these kind of schools are being cut. And I know we've got one of these schools here in the Durham area. It might even be a couple of them that are here where the kids that have been dealing with drug issues or dealing with other issues are getting their education. And sometimes they're even able to get into good fields. I think one of the young men was going to go into the Army. I think there was a young lady that was thinking about going into becoming a nail technician and maybe getting even some business degrees and stuff like that. But it was a interesting story, and I did not realize that it was that low amount of programs to help our troubled teens around the country and everything like that. And it might have even been a boarding type school, because I know the one here, I think it's a day school, and they go back to their homes and all along those lines. But did you know that it was that low? And everything. Because when I saw those stories, I'm going like, wait, we only got that many, but apparently it's not that many that are able to deal with kids that are, maybe they are in their families might be that whole latchkey kind of situation we saw back in the 70s and the 80s, and some of the other situations where they are having their parents out working and they are not having as much adult supervision as we would like them to have. But apparently there's not as much opportunities. And I know even here, there's a lot of people that are frustrated because there's not a lot of things for them to do. We've got a skate park that's been built probably about, I guess, 10, 12 years ago or something like that, that some of the kids will go to. And there's some new, there's a renovated kind of like youth center that has kind of like the bumper cars and stuff like that that's here. I think it's Wheels, if I remember correctly, and everything like that. But there's a lot of the kids that are sitting there going like, that's not enough. We need other things to do. Otherwise, we get a little distracted. We go to the malls, and after you buy whatever you're gonna buy in terms of the food and everything else, then you kind of become a distraction to the store owners. But I don't know how that is in Jersey. But that's
loitering. They say they loiter the kids at the ice cream parlors and things like that. They have nothing to do. The infrastructure. So thank you, Mark, for that.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? And I'm going to piggyback on what you are saying about the programs, the effects of the cutting of the programs. Let's look at the decades as we went by. Growing up in the 70s, we had camps, we had after school programs, things that we wanted to go to, and which was free. Breakfast was free, lunch free, and then you go home to your parents. And I was one of those latchkey kids too. Me and my brother, I was the oldest, and we went into the house and we did what we were supposed to do. As children, you have direct instructions on not answering the door. You go in the house and you just wait, right? And you do what you're supposed to do. The 80s came in and still kind of the same way. And then let me go back a little bit, but in the 70s, it was more of community settings. So the community raised the kids. So you knew that you can go to work, parents can go to work and know that their kids will be looked after, even if it's indirectly. 80s came, still kind of the same way, but then in the 90s and in the 2000s, it was totally lost. And all of these programs began to get cut as we went along. And since we're serving our Black and Brown community, this is who is affected the most, is the Black and Brown community. And these cuts are intentional. These are not cuts that they're saying, oh, we don't mean to do it. No, they are sitting down and probably taking a map of the United States and looking at the population of the communities and said, hey, this said community, we no longer want school programs or feeding the kids free, nor do we want the parents to have affordable, health care and daycare. So these are the things that they are doing intentionally. And then the thing is, I think what they're waiting for the Black community is to stand up and fight back. But we're tired of fighting. We're tired of being picked on. So when you get to a point where you've had enough, and this is where we are, but it is affecting us. But I do think we're handling it better than most people because we make a way out of no way. That is just like what we do, and we don't know anything else but to make a way out of no way.
That's what we do.
I mean,
That's what we do.
Yeah.
April. Like you were saying that, I was thinking because I was a
boy,
4-H counselor way back when and everything, and I had a friend that taught archery. I taught nature. I didn't know anything about trees. I mean, I had a love of birds and maybe a love of other things to do with nature and everything, but I didn't really know about that much about the different types of trees and things like that. But I went out and got a book and got a quick lesson on how to do it so that I could teach those kids about Mother Nature, even though that was not one of my strong suits. I wasn't, even though my
Mm-hmm.
mother comes from a farming background and definitely had that farming background. And, an oak tree and a pine tree wasn't that much difference to me. And I'm being a little bit sarcastic because I do know the difference between the two and everything along those lines. But definitely, I'm sitting there going like, well, I don't know, but I'll grab a book because that's what you had to do back then. If you didn't have the training to be the counselor and they wanted you to be the counselor, then you went and gave yourself an instant education.
Yeah. And that's what it
yeah,
was. My family were sharecroppers. So every summer, because of the latchkey era, my aunt had to go to work. So I went to Mississippi.
Mhm.
And one of the things is, whoa, why do we have to go visit somebody? And it seemed like every time I was with my grandmother, I'm shelling peas. But then I
mm-hmm.
learned by watching how to can and things like that. And that's what they did. Todd, baby Todd, go out there and get a bushel of greens and some ears of corn and whatever. I'm going out there, watch the black snakes. So those are things. And then Dr. Diamond was so funny. He said the notes. That's how I learned how to cook. My aunt was going for her degree, so she would leave a note. My grandfather's downstairs, 2-family house, and the village. And she would say, heat the oven to 350. And in an hour and a half, baste the chicken. Do this, do
Right.
this. And that's how I learned to bake. And then from there, then that's when I started making homemade cheesecakes and things like that. But that's what was going on there. Look at now where we are. These parents
Look
are
at where
young.
we are.
There's no big mama in the house. So that's where I feel that was the last set of that. Now these children, you put a tablet in front of them, they can do all of this,
Yep.
but don't understand. So I had my little babies in my village, and I said, okay, we went to the store. Here's a book. I talked to their mom this morning. I want this book report done because they're not giving that in the schools. I said, all right, I'm not going to call out the school district, but where's the math packet? Where's the English packet? And where's the reading list for the summer? So guess what? I'm going to go back to what worked. I'm going to give you some homework. You ain't got homework? You always have homework. Work on your times tables. Now it's the mental math, the forgiving method. What's that? You're teaching them to be lazy, in my opinion, and no cursing. So I like the fact we need to take our own. And now they don't have these programs. I remember this one cultural group working at social services. There was a letter would come past. This person does my gardening. Notarized. This person is my babysitter. Notarized. Excuse me? We give a pay stub. That's all I'm going to say. So look at it. Now these folks are being deported. Now there's jobs. And our folks who going to work these jobs, there's no after school program. So I'm just putting it out there. Just think about the infrastructure. In order for the people that were born here to work, I need some assistance because that's what the federal poverty level is. And what the infrastructure is, you put these programs if we fall in this category. So how can you take something that we voted for that kept the infrastructure together, let these folks get together so they can go out into the world to work and keep everything going? But now you know the other folks of Hispanic descent are being deported. They were keeping our infrastructure good. We were going to school, we're doing whatever. So that's all I'm going to just put the little seed out there and think about that in your minds.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. That, when you look at what's happening and the dynamics and the structure and everything that's being brought down, again, these are intentional behaviors. If I bring this down, how does this affect A and B community? What would the community do? So then I can bring out the military to eliminate them. See, this is a process of elimination that's happening here. This is not about saving communities. You voted for me, thank you, but my thanks is to actually eliminate you. So right now, it is going to be the brown people that they sending back. A lot of these people haven't committed crimes, but yet they're sitting in these horrible places. Now, I do have a question for you all about, have you heard Trump talk about or trying to sign into law that he wants to send back our American prisoners, to these concentration camps and whatnot. What do you two think about that? Because that's a part of being in troubled times. What are we talking about here?
Well, that's just crazy that he wants to do that. But yeah, he talked about taking people even to countries that have their own troubles, and all along those lines, he was even talking about sending some to Sudan and to some of these other countries. And I think he's been negotiating with some of these countries as part of his whole thing with the tariffs and all along those lines. But yeah, he's definitely looking at this idea of creating these prisons that and sending people to other countries, and then he's building prisons in crazy places. I have relatives that are of the Native American side of the family and everything like that that used to live in Florida. I think I still got some cousins that are down there in Florida. And, the Everglades is no joke. Those alligators are no joke and everything like that. But you're going to build a prison in the middle of that environment. And then you're going to send some people down from New York and California and other places that have no clue what they're dealing with when they go into those environments. So you have a walking disaster in that situation. But he doesn't really care. But that's definitely something that folks are paying attention to as well. So there's a lot of this craziness going on, and definitely folks have to be prepared. I think we didn't do a show since my birthday, which was on the 1st and everything along those lines. But one of the things I did is I went to a group of folks that were celebrating actually not so much my birthday, but just kind of like getting together and networking. And one of the things that Katina Parker, who's a filmmaker, was talking about was, what are we going to do in a time of chaos? Because this is definitely a time of chaos. And she was suggesting that people learn how to raise their own food and how to deal with situations and all along those lines. So it was definitely worthwhile having those conversations and being prepared for whatever might be coming our way, because a lot of this stuff is not going to be pleasant at all.
Yeah.
No, it's
and
not.
Happy belated birthday, Mark. Since we didn't get to
belated birthday.
Because men don't want to tell us that, all of that, but blessings to you this year. But I think that is a distraction, and just even looking at the one big beautiful bill, there's a lot of stuff going on, and different things are in the headlines are taking us away from what's going on behind the scenes, and that does not make sense. And to say that is a marshland, I don't understand. Is this a show? That does not make sense to me. To build something where there's a marshland. So here I feel that his thoughts are not congruent. He's all over the place, because I thought we were working over here on project A. We got project B, C, D, and whatever else. But I just don't understand how this particular individual has this platform, and whenever he feels the wind is blowing this way, this is what the focus is. And then from there, I just know that when ideas is put out there, there's supposed to be steps and then a conclusion. And I feel sometimes I don't ever see a conclusion. Is that just me? Or is it just that there's so many things popping up and then you have to go and find the information? Am I looking at it crazily, or I like order?
Yeah, there's no ending or answer to anything. There are things that are opened up and then you don't hear anything about it. He doesn't like, and I heard what you said, Mark, that he's chasing this black reporter, but he does not like strong black women like Jasmine Crockett. He can't stand her, right? So that's the problem with him, that he opens up these discussions or make these rules or trying to change these things. But I agree with you. There is no structure to it at all. We don't know what's going to happen. All we hear is this is what he's signing into law. This is what he's doing. But what is the outcome? What is the consequence to you signing a bill such as cutting programs? Did you look at to see what the consequence would be in the next 10 years to 20 years? How is this going to affect us in the long term? Which is something he is not doing. But I look at it this way. I'm not going to put every white person in the same category. But when you see evil walking amongst you, that's what it looks like. This is a person that has no conscience, don't care about anything. Like you said, what structure? How can you have structure if you believe in chaos? You can't have structure. He is a chaotic person. Therefore, he's going to bring forth chaos the whole time. He doesn't know anything about what structure looks like at all. So, and as you can hear, look at his vocabulary. His vocabulary is like a second or third grader. I'm going to be honest here. The way he speaks, he doesn't speak like a person that is a president with some form of intelligence. There's no integrity there. He talks to other countries and telling them what they can and cannot do. You cannot speak to other countries and tell them what they can and cannot do. So I do agree with you, Toya, that there is no sound structure or results or anything. I think the results is always going to be something of disaster. So, and how it's going to affect us in the long run. That's kind of what I see based on what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that just think about math. There has to be a variable. And if you think forecasting in the age of artificial intelligence, I feel that I love math. An algebraic expression would explain it. I feel that this is what it is. Normally, you have a strategic plan. You'll say, I'm going to forecast over this. I feel the numbers are there. And when it comes to computation, I feel that they're trying to cut. And then guess who receives all the money? It's us. I feel that that variable is not being shared to us. It has to be. And I'm going to give an example of that. When you think about during COVID, when folks received those stimuluses, one of the things that they did add was it used to be that when you got your return care for child care, I just know for me as a single parent, I was on the latter end. The credit is $3,000. I'm give you some numbers, right? $3,000. So when it comes to this percentage, I only got $300 back. But at that time, the child care might have been $8,000 a year. Just say no programs. So then when COVID occurred, I'm working with some folks and I say, wow, they're getting 50% back. Then all of a sudden that went back. So imagine those numbers. I'm just giving this. Take everyone in America. They started with the child care. So what happened is that first cut that probably happened around COVID time. Just think about it, right? We were at home. Then the next year, the law for the child care credit was, if you get an earned income credit, you no longer get this credit. People are like, well, wait a minute. My tax return went down $2,000. Just said. Imagine that, $2,000 across every single parent who ever fit that category. That's a money. That's a variable, right? Now you're going to the Black scholarships. My church was doing every week for United Ringo College Fund. What did that make us do? Reach into our pockets to secure those funds. So whenever I can't figure it out, I put a number on it. So just think about it. Food for thought. That's what he's selling to Congress. He's selling a number. So now the folks are in the behind, but now they're not knowing in New Jersey, out of all the 21 counties, Somerset is the one, P-PAC, all those areas. So these people are getting affected, but it's 21 counties. So just think about it. If that is just a sample, take that per state globally. That's how this is going on. So the folks that are voting, they're just not sharing that information with the layman. That's what I feel. Because how is this happening? People are signing yes, yay, but you're not looking at the after effects. If you would have did a study, if you do a risk cause analysis, we would know what it is, but no one's talking to that. So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the numbers, not the talk. Because what's going to happen, our people, which is going to be the Black and brown, and now the Hispanics, they're trying to remove that population. But they're the ones that work in these stores. So when you go out today, shopping, look at who the cashier is. Look who's cleaning the aisles. Look at that. Imagine if those people were gone. You saw that movie Left Behind with Kirk Cameron. What if you walk into the store and no one's there? Who's going to do these jobs? Then you have produce, things that need to be flipped and things like that. Just look at it like that. It'll be a time warp.
Yeah. It is so true. So I do have one of our questions here that I want to ask. So I'm curious to know what your answer would be. In troubled times, we sometimes retreat to our in-groups and let blame turn into the dehumanization of those we perceive as bad actors. Do you see this happening? If so, in what ways? So I'm going to start out by saying this to answer this question. We do have our inner groups that we do go to. However, we are seeing, let's say, I'm going to backtrack a little bit, Black and brown. Right now, Black and brown is separating an Asian. We never was cohesive anyway to begin with. But to dehumanize someone we're not really in the business of doing that because it was done to us. But now that we're sitting in the back seat, we get a chance to see what is happening. And all Black people now, even through social media, because I have a social media question I want to delve into too, that we're beginning to tell each other, don't do this because we need to see what the outcome is going to be. But in that same breath, we're not dehumanizing the brown person or the Asian person. We're not back and making them feel like they're not subhuman. Where in a white folks, and they still do it, and they're starting to do it more, is that they're getting bold enough to feel like they can treat us like subhumans, but yet we are not doing it. I think the effects of this can really trickle down to our children in these next generations that are coming behind us. If we do not come together as Black, Asian, Latinos, Chicanos, if we do not come together, we can't win. And I think now people are starting to realize we do need each other as ethnic groups to come together and to form an alliance to step up against these people that are harming us and dehumanizing us. That's what dehumanization is, by them sitting in these jails and concentration camps in these different countries. That's an example of it.
Yeah. Cool. That's loaded. Very loaded. Yeah. And the way I want to look at this is the legal system. Mm-hmm. So, as you know now, there's no bails. People are just sitting there. Then you have folks that go to a halfway house. I was talking to someone and they were asking me questions because I worked in that system with parole, MAP. So now they have these halfway houses. It's like, it's not really like they're community integrated. So I see it as it's just a placeholder. How are you going to have someone incarcerated? Then you're going to let them go to a halfway house. That's a step down, lower security. But now it's like security. So when they get ready to go out there, they're not ready. So what happens is probably going to be repeated crime, recidivism. So looking at that, they're using us to keep folks getting paid. Mm-hmm. So that's how I saw that, Dr. Diamond, because how can something be in place, which is paid for, but now it's not giving me the tools that I need so that I can succeed? So again, within us, we sit and we look at one another and we're not having those conversations. These are the things that we really need to talk about, because now there's going to be some trauma that may be there in our families. And then that means that possible riots. So I feel that we need to think and talk about what the elephant in the room is. We never do that. We put a Band-Aid on everything. And so now if you're saying that within our social groups, we're talking, but those are the conversations that we need to start having. How are we going to succeed in this world with everything being taken from us? Instead of getting angry at one another, as we say a lot, hurt people. But right now we have an infrastructure that was there to make sure that America was great. That's what the headline is. If you look at what we're talking about today, it's not longer great. It's more of a snatch. Figure it out. Now each social group has to convene together. But I'm just asking you, us up here, of those listening, are we working on the underlying problem?
We're not working on the underlying problem. There's even additional problems that we're not even thinking about, and all along those lines. Because as I was checking out something yesterday and everything, I'm going to try to see if I can pull this up and everything along those lines, because I saw this, and this was quite interesting report and everything along those lines and everything like that. So I'm gonna see if I can play it for you and everything and bring it up. But if you bring that up, what's on the screen there and everything, but this is talking about how our kids are being impacted a lot by something that we don't even think about, which is exercise and all along those lines. So check out what Juju was talking about in this.
And it's spurring concern among healthcare providers. Here are the findings by the numbers. 1 in 3 teens had prediabetes in 2023, according to new CDC data. Each year, 5 to 10% of people with prediabetes progress to type 2 diabetes, according to a global survey conducted in the UK. They found people with prediabetes are also 15% more likely to develop heart disease than those with normal blood sugar levels. And they are 14% more likely to suffer a stroke. Health professionals urge people diagnosed with prediabetes to get at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity, like brisk walking, every week. And if they are overweight, try to lose 5 to 7% of their body weight. A lot to dig into. So ABC News contributor and pediatrician Dr. Alok Patel joins us now to talk more about this. Dr. Patel, good to have us with you.
Happy Friday, Juju. It's good to see you, but albeit not about this very concerning headline.
This is a concerning headline. You're right. So tell us about the dangers of prediabetes and what concern is it in terms of younger people? Why is it greater concern?
You know, Juju, I would almost go beyond and say that this is just a concern. And this is almost a red flag affecting 8.4 million youth. Prediabetes is a condition in which the blood sugar is elevated, and there may be some insulin resistance. That's the hormone that regulates blood sugar. And if this isn't treated, a percentage of these individuals can progress to develop type 2 diabetes and potentially lifelong chronic illness, which increases your risk of many other illnesses as well, including heart disease and stroke. And what's scary about prediabetes, aside from the fact that it can progress, is in many cases, it's silent and there are no symptoms, and it has to be caught by these screenings.
And so why are we seeing these huge increases, and what can parents do, if anything, to protect their kids?
You know, public health experts have seen that these numbers of youth with prediabetes have almost doubled in recent decades, and are potentially attributing this to a rise in ultra-processed, cheap, convenient, tasty food. So a lot of this is related to diet, but also a lack of physical activity. Youths, many of us, live more sedentary lifestyles. And Juju, there's also some other lifestyle factors at play as well, potentially stress and an impending lack of sleep that's affecting this as well. So parents out there, it's more than just telling your kids to eat better. Actually introduce those healthy swaps and model good behavior. Try taking in some family activity time. But I want to say that we can't place all the blame just on teens and families, because we need some societal changes as well as affordable, healthy food options, SNAP programs in schools, and safe neighborhoods for kids to go out, play, and be physically active in.
We gave good advice on what to do to prevent it, but what do you do if your children are diagnosed with prediabetes?
You know, the good news, everyone take a breath, is that this is reversible, this condition. In fact, one study showed that with strict lifestyle interventions, about 40% of people with prediabetes can go back and have normal blood sugar numbers.
That's really active in our community, which is why I want to bring that to our attention and everything like that. That is very active in our community, as we all know.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I like that you shared that, because that's basically what we were just talking about with the SNAP program, all those things. And then also the food makes sure the brain grows and, you know, feeds the central nervous system, a whole lot of stuff. Even with the water, you know, folks are able to buy cases of water because we don't know what's in the water in our systems. So if these kids are getting all these healthy options during the day, now they're home for those summer months, and that can also affect their learning and their growth and development. So thanks for sharing that, because as we know, medications only just address the symptoms. So now you think about the mortality rate. What's the other one? Metabolic syndrome. In the mental health field, Dr. Diamond, you know that most of the folks who are on psychotropics, they are diagnosed co-occurring with metabolic syndrome. And that's something that you're talking, when you're doing a biopsychosocial assessment, you're treating the whole self. And then those things can turn into other stuff. And then as far as the diabetes, and that can cause the medicine not to work, and then it's cyclical. So thank you for sharing that clip, Mark.
Yeah. But okay, so on our On the Couch fans, what we're gonna say is this: watch what you're eating, right? Because at home we have control over how we're preparing things. And I can say I'm guilty of eating fast food too. Too many years of eating fast food will make you gain unnecessary weight. America is very obese. Okay. When you look at America and other countries, we're very obese and unhealthy. We're probably one of the nations that is high on medication, you know, as far as how much meds we have to take care of ourselves because of the improper way of eating and taking care of ourselves. So what I will tell you is this: if you are a person on the go and you're not able to make food every day. And that's understandable because I don't make it every day. Think about your choices. What am I eating today? What today? Sometimes we don't want healthy, but we have. Think of your mortality. If you think about living a long life, maybe into your 80s, because you had family members that live 80 and beyond, there's a reason why they live that long. And they have better practices because they lived off of their food, their land, and stuff like that. This is why they were more healthier than us because of those reasons. Asian people, when they eat in their custom, they still continue to eat the foods that they're supposed to eat. Do they eat fast food? I really think no. I don't think that is introduced into their lifestyle. But we took it upon ourselves to introduce it to our lifestyle because everything is fast. We're talking about social media, the way we eat, how we get around. You know, all of the things that we're doing is fast. So we're not thinking about our health until we stand on that scale. And then all of a sudden, diabetes, hypertension, you know what I mean? And all of these other things, you know, having the scares about cancer, because again, you don't know what you're ingesting into your bodies and how they're preparing these foods. Food poisoning. Think about that, people. How many of us have had food poisoning? I've had it years ago, like 3 times. Eating Taco Bell, I stopped eating Taco Bell. Like, I don't eat it at all. I don't care what they have, don't have. I know a lot of people like Taco Bell, but because I had it 3 times, I won't eat it. And would I get it for somebody else? If you, Toya, if you sent me to go get it, yeah, I'll go get it for you, but I won't be eating it.
Maybe it was the location. Was it the same location?
No, it wasn't the same location, so it was different ones.
Okay, then it's just your body. Your body don't like it. Like my body don't like Dunkin' Donuts because that caused me to go to the bathroom. They don't clean their machines.
Yes, exactly. And it was something that Bev, our nurse, you know, eventually she'll be back, you guys. She's just doing some other things, but she'll be back on with us. But she said something to me that I didn't think about. She said, watch the lettuce, like especially when we go to different events. You know, Toya, how we go to different events.
So tell me about this lettuce.
It's bag lettuce. She said the bag lettuce is not the healthiest lettuce because that's why a lot of the times we're using the bathroom because the lettuce is not clean. It's just in the bag. So she said it's probably not clean, and that's why you're reacting the way that you are.
Don't tell me that. Please don't tell me that. I always had this question. When I buy spinach or the romaine, we wash it. So I'm thinking, FDA, if it's in the bag that they treat it. So please don't tell me if I'm on the go.
I would say double wash it. Yeah. Just wash it again, especially because you're in control of it at home. I'm saying when we go to these different events,
I know because you're just throwing it in.
That's have to be careful. They're just putting it in the bowl. Exactly. So we know what if they wash it or not. And I said to her, you know, that's a good.
I can't unsee that now. I can't unsee it now.
You know, again, as we see. Well, I don't eat the salad anyway because going through the body changes, certain foods my body just rejects, right? Okay. And salad is one of them. It's not that I don't like salad because I do. So again, I will go out to like with Salad Works and Panera Breads. I would do that, okay? But I don't, for some reason, I don't get the same reaction that I do. So they're probably washing their stuff and taking care of their food and the lettuce and everything because I don't have the same reaction. Gotcha. And I do come home with it just in case. So I sit there in there, but I don't thank you for showing that to us because teenagers, we need to help them out when it comes to food, how to prepare food, how to pick the right foods, because diabetes is no joke when you have to deal with it, and it can be reversible, but why deal with it from the beginning? You know, I think and keeping up with our medical is also another thing. So again, think about the effects of this, you two. These programs are being cut. Medicaid, let's just focus on Medicaid. Medicaid is being cut. So with that clip that Mark just showed us, what will happen to our children if they don't get the proper coverage to get the medication if they have to have it, to get the nutritionist if they need it, the healthy foods, if the WIC program is cut, if food stamps are completely cut? How is this going to affect our?
Because they can't afford it.
What do you?
Yeah, there's a lag. There's a lag for some reason. I don't know. Am I the only one hearing that? It's like a lag.
No, it was lag. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but that's basically what this is. If you think about it, a healthy plate looks as you have your meat, your protein, your greens of some type of category, your starch, and then of course, we want the little dessert and everything like that. But if you ever sat and look at a child's plate, I'm just going to just say this because you're serving. Most people don't want to put anything green on it. Remember, green was taught years ago should be half your plate and everything else. Right. Serving as Merce Bev in the middle of your fist, your hand. So now, if you're looking at that, these are the things that I've noticed that children, when I go in the bathroom after a child and they smell like an old man, or these kids, because they're not having a proper diet. So these are things. Just take a look. I just want, we loose statistics. Just take a look and look at everything. So imagine if you take that out, because the healthier options are more expensive. So this is the thing. If you really want the healthcare to cost to go down, then allow us to have something that's going to feed the bodies, so that now that later on they're not at the doctor for GI issues. I know I have GI issues because of that Johnson & Johnson vaccine that I had to take for work. So that's all I'm going to say. You made me take a vaccine with other people and you have an immunity. So just imagine that. So how can you tell me you're going to cut a program and you made myself and other people sick? Okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to say this in the airway so people document what's going on with you in your body. Because April, I know you had to have that vaccine. So maybe that's why your stomach is acting different. Because people are not asking that. I'm just telling you. Because I remember when COVID happened, I stopped going to Starbucks, McDonald's, and things like that. That's when the weight came off, because all those simple sugars and the fast food. And if you look at everyone, look at your neighbors, we're all thinner now. Some people may be because they're taking Ozempic or whatever those things are. But look at us globally, we're thinner. Because now we're home. For people who are hybrid or doing it. So look at that. This is something that could be reversed. But if you're telling me that you're cutting these programs, then how are we going to make America great and healthy? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. True. That's so true. So my next question probably would be our last question here, because this one will be a long one for us. This is about social media. Hearing on social media can amplify discord rather than deepen human connection. Which voices are you listening to right now, and which are you missing for a fuller picture? It's a good question, right? So what say you, Mark? What you think, Mark?
Well, no, social media is important. You got to use it for your a lot of the things I do, including even here at the Cultural Arts Center and a number of other things. But you still got to have that person-to-person contact. And I do get frustrated sometimes when I go, and I've mentioned on this show and other shows, when you go into venues and you go into places and the entire families are having conversations with their devices and people in Timbuktu and aren't even really paying attention to their media surroundings and their media conversations. Because I do remember growing up and being engaged in conversations with both of my parents, my aunts and uncles, including some that have passed on and everything like that. And it might include everything from sports to politics to just what's going on in your life and things along those lines and everything like that. And I think that some of our young people are missing that. I don't have any of my own, and I know you got some, Dr. Diamond. I think you don't, Miss Toya, you like me, you've got cousins and I mean nieces and nephews and cousins and stuff like that, but none that are directly yours and everything like that. But I do get frustrated sometimes when I hear them talking, and it's all about what's going on in their social media influencer world.
Yeah, this is scary.
Right.
It really is. And now that working with the youth, I have taken the charge of mentoring and 2 different platforms. And when I tell you, check your kids' phones. Do not let them go to folks' house when you didn't meet your parents. And I'm speaking to the choir here. Those practices have ceased, and you don't know what's going on. I was one of those parents, everybody wanted to come to my house, and because I wanted to know what was going on. My son was in scouts. My son was in football. I was a teen mom. I was there until he got older. But I was hands-on because of experiences that I've had. And this is where I think, in my opinion, people are forgetting. Think about, once you see something, hear something, live something, observe something, and experience something, do not forget that. And I feel that folks are in this microwave generation and they want to keep going. However, we're not in tune with our kids. There are shows, a friend of mine told me to watch Ginny and Georgia. I mentioned that previously. In social media, especially Netflix, there are different shows that are being placed out here. We're not watching it. I remember the after school specials, we kind of knew it was co-signed. Now there's things on these platforms that we're not watching. There was a voiceover that I happened to listen to on YouTube. It was a cartoon. Then in the background, I'm so depressed. I don't know if you're my friend and ... Are you listening? Because the kids are contained. But then what if they have earbuds in? Do you know what they're listening to? You're feeding them this information. So these children is like, oh, how many more likes do I have? Auntie, is we popping? Are we trending? I said, why do you worry about if you're trending? So that's affecting their self-esteem. Then they're seeing all this stuff there. They're not born with that. That's all I'm saying. I told my son blatantly, when you're dating someone, you ask to see their baby pictures. That's all that I could say to him. Because I seen a movie on Lifetime where this girl, she was trans, and there was a hate crime. So imagine our little kids, and we don't talk to them because we don't want to have those conversations. But if you look at the commercial, they are glorifying having same sex. Take this medication so you don't get HIV. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But again, I come from a spiritual background. 2 men and 2 women cannot have a baby. And there's no disrespect. I'm just basically saying we were designed. Without medicine, we would not be we could not populate the world. So the only thing I'm saying is I will not judge, because the person that I believe in, there's no judgment here. But now we're speaking of the continuation of our legacy in our life. So right now, get back to the basics of what to do in your home. Because again, social media, what's out there, they're listening to this. They need a briefing after they watch what they watch. Just because you see something on TV or hear it does not mean that's what it's supposed to be. So that's all. That's the main point of this little tidbit. Make sure that you censor what you're doing. Because right now, everything that I know on this YouTube thing was supposed to be child friendly. But if whoever's saying this is approved, kids approved, PGG, rated R, MR4, however it is. But if it's going through and it's blanketed and it's something with an inner message, just pay attention. Because I don't want to go on a tangent.
Agreed. No, we do need to pay attention to what our children, grandchildren, if you have them, nieces, nephews, we need to see what they are watching, because this is where they can get catfished by other adults. And you don't know that unless, like you said, Toya, that you say, play that out loud. Let me see, listen to what you're listening to. Because there are times my granddaughter was watching some young lady, right? And I said, well, let me listen to what she's saying. I didn't like what she was saying because she was a older person that was pretending to be a child's age, doing different character, because the characters came across as rebellious. Yes, that is okay, that you could talk back to adults. That's a no-no. So, we got to censor what they're watching. Social media in general can be informative, because there's some things that I do watch that I tend to see as informative. There are other things that I think we should not be watching as even adults, because there are things on social media that is a distraction, like you talked about earlier. we are totally distracted by things that we shouldn't really be watching at all. If it's not something that can be an asset to your life, I wouldn't even focus on it, because there's some things that I go on Facebook and I'll pass it because I think it's not helping me. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to see this. This is not beneficial to me. So these are the things I would say. Focus on what you think is important, just like we would filter anything in and out of our brain. I would do the same thing for social media. If it's not beneficial to you, don't utilize it. If it's beneficial to you, then utilize it. But don't let social media be the essence. That's what I would say about social media. Yeah. And then let's see here. Other than that, I think for us, again, trying to get people to understand where we are in these times right now, it is troubled. And I do think that people need to begin to gather and have people in a communal type of state that we're going to be able to take care of each other, because right now it's not going to be a game anymore. Like, it was a game to begin with, but now we're dealing with some at this point. So I would say just continue to take care of each other, support each other through these times, because it is tough.
Yeah,
that's what I would say about that. So what?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
The takeaway for today, what would you say?
Okay.
Yeah. What would be your takeaway for today? Conversations in troubled times.
I believe the take. Yeah, I think we have a lag.
What would you say?
Yeah. Are we good?
Go ahead.
I think we have a lag.
I heard you.
Mark,
you were getting ready to say it.
Yeah, Mark, we got a little lag today. I don't know what's going on. I think that we're talking about some good stuff, and Big Brother is somebody doing something to our.
I don't know. Yes, I know.
This is weird, because you notice that every time we talk about a good point, it's like.
Yeah, yeah, it is weird today. I don't know what's going on.
So, we're hitting some
what
points.
would be your takeaway for today?
Yes, where I agree with that. I feel that we need to, again, get back to the basics of what made us great in our lives. And I feel that we hold the key to that reformulation of that. Think about your legacy. The village worked. I'm not saying that I'm well versed in anything, but if I don't know something, I'm going to find out and share that information. And I think that folks need to really take care of your brothers and sisters, because at the end of the day, if it was an apocalypse, we're going to need each other. And sometimes, they always say respect is earned, not given. And I think that if we just respect our neighbors as we're supposed to honor our mother and fathers, life would be easier. My takeaway here is, at the end of the day, we are in end times. Everything that was stated is just that this is our reality today. History repeats itself. So what I know I'm focusing on, this is my peace era. Everything that's around me, I just know that there is a person, is a grand architect who created me. And he has supplied for me all the time. And I'm grateful for that. But however, I can't be about myself. It's about sister and brotherly love. And I think that in this era, when things are cutting, we need to really go back into our communities and figure out how we can make sure that we are still standing, and understand that those values that we have, they need to trickle off into the next generation. And silence is important too. Sit back, meditate, look at what you have, seeing the glass as half full and not half empty. Think about it. Meditate on that until we see you in 2 weeks.
Yep. Dr. Diamond, you still there?
Good. Mark?
Powerful message, and definitely,
yes, I'm here.
Even though these are tumultuous times and everything like that, we still got to be prepared to deal with these changes. Got to be prepared to make some positive changes in our life and all along those lines. So I would just say that even though we know these are tumultuous times, we got a crazy man in the White House, and all along those lines, we still got to be ready to deal with what's going on and to find ways to cope with what we can deal with. I mean, there are some things that are beyond our control, but we can try to find ways to live a healthier life, whether that's on the emotional side, the spiritual side, the physical side, or even the mental side, and even in the relationship side as well. So we can figure out ways to get all of this done and get it done correctly.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So my takeaway today is that continue to work together as a community. I would like for the Black, the brown community, Asian community, we need to join forces and begin to take care of each other through these tough times. It's going to get worse before it gets better. We have to be careful, be very proactive about who we're voting into office and hold people to tasks that put in office. We let them get in office, but we don't hold them to task, and we need to do that. So that is something that I want us to begin to do. Things are not going to be better no time soon. So let's face that as part of our reality, but we can continue to support each other by talking about these hard things. What Toya said earlier about the elephant in the room, there are things that we need to address. Let's address them, and let's do it in a most helpful and healthy way, not hurting each other, but to educate each other like we do when we come on this show every 2 weeks. Our task is to do that. We took this on as, what do we do to help our communities grow? And this is the way to do it. So as we move forward, we want our community to grow, be healthy, and enjoy life as we go through. So, as always, we are here at the end of our show. Toya, thank you so much for joining me today. And I know you got stuff going on, just as Mark has as well. But I'm going to go ahead and end our show. You have a wonderful weekend, the rest of it. And I'll see you in weeks, okay? All right. Thank you again for joining us on the couch. As always, we love the fact that you join us and talk about things that are affecting our community. Conversations in troubled times. This is what we had today, a conversation about what is troubling us, how do we get through, and how we're going to make it. Just know that we do not have all of the answers, but we encourage you all to talk about it in your prospective homes. It's hard to do stuff in the workplace because you don't want people to be offended by things, but take advantage and take the time to have a conversation about what you see that's going on now and come up with some resolutions. What can we do to make some effective changes in our community? Take care of our kids as they're struggling with illnesses such as diabetes. Take care of ourselves, health-wise, our mind, body, and spirit. Just make sure that we are keeping that aligned at all times. But we want to thank you again for joining us on the couch. I hope you are going to have something to take away with. Again, we thank you so much. And as always, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace, love, and tranquility. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of On the Couch. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found it as enlightening and inspiring as I did. Remember, the stories and experiences we share here are just the beginning of a much larger journey. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, look for the notification on Facebook, and find us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us keep the conversation going and reach more listeners just like you. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep the dialogue alive. Peace, love, and tranquility. Take care, and we'll see you on the couch.